If the guy I'm about to interview is Daniel LaRusso, aka the Karate Kid, who is Mr. Miyagi? Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jay Helms. I'm the founder of this podcast and movement known as the W2 Capitalist. Today, I say this every time, but I am extremely excited for this episode because it is it is 1 in 4 series that we're doing to kick off our partnership, our very first sponsorship here with Quest Trust. And I'm super excited for this relationship. I know it's going to be hugely beneficial for us both. And you're going to get to hear from several people in the Quest Trust organization, all the way up to the president, right? So Nathan Long is going to join us here in a couple of weeks. But today and in next week, you're going to hear from my man, Juan Deshon. Juan was receiving a bachelor's degree. Let me tell you about Juan's background, then we'll get into what we're going to talk about today. But Juan was receiving a bachelor's degree in finance at the University of Houston when he went full-time with Quest Trust in 2018. He does look like the Karate Kid. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way. Okay. Sorry, Daniel. I mean, sorry, Juan.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
He's been in the industry for just 3 years, but in that time, he's accomplished so much. He's received the title of Certified IRA Services Professional from the Institute of Certified Bankers. And while he's been at Quest, he has presented to groups of real estate investors wanting to learn more about their possibilities and opportunity in the retirement space across Houston. He also joined us this last April when we did the first ever WCAP Summit, which is where he and I connected. After that presentation, I moved all of my stuff over to Juan. I think we're going to talk about that sometime, maybe either today or maybe next week when that episode. But back to Juan. Throughout his time with Quest, he has provided world-class customer service. I can testify to that. Quality education and fun to the Quest team. I don't know. Let's ask you about the fun to the Quest team. But as an IRA specialist with Quest Trust Company, they are based out of Houston. Juan is one of the specialists who interacts with the Quest clientele on a day-to-day basis. With over 16,000 clients at Quest, there's no question Juan has received he has not seen. Oh, there's no question Juan hasn't received that he has not seen, answered, or been tasked to resolve. He loves to smoke meat. I had to read that twice. He loves to smoke meat on the weekend, hang out with his friends, and his labradoodle Goose. Which, by the way, how do you come up with the name Goose for labradoodle?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. All right, there you go. There you go. Juan, welcome to the show, buddy. Super excited to have you here, man.
Appreciate it. Excited to be here.
So let's just dive into this, right? So today's episode is going to be like the one-on-one basics for self-directed IRA, right?
Yeah.
Which is just a piece of what Quest Trust provides, right? That's just one piece, but it's fitting for what we're talking about today because that's my experience with you guys, right? But why? Let's back up. Let's talk about if somebody's listening and they're like, "What the heck is a SDIRA, right, or a self-directed IRA?" What is that, right? Why would anybody want to have a self-directed IRA? Who can use them? Uh, you know, does age matter when you have one of these things when you're setting it up? Let's kind of dive into that. I threw a few questions at you. So let's just start. What is it, and why would somebody want to have a self-directed IRA?
Yeah. So that's the biggest question we get is, people are always calling us, I want to know more about self-directed IRA. What does it do? How is it different from anything I might have right now? And that's what I always tell people, that it's absolutely no different. So legal wise, an IRA that you may have at Charles Schwab or Fidelity or Merrill Lynch, whoever you're with, is going to go by the same exact rules, IRS publication, all these IRS notices, by the same things that a quote unquote self-directed IRA is going to go through as well. What the big difference is kind of what you're using it to invest into.
Gotcha.
And so in a traditional route, people are used to investing into the public market, investing into
stocks and mutual funds. Yeah.
Right. So everyone's used to that and understands how the IRA works there. You invest in the stock goes up, so does my IRA value. Hopefully I can retire off this money eventually. but you're kind of subject to the volatility of the market and just hoping that you've chosen some good stocks if you're not an expert in that, right?
Right.
And so
Well, even the experts are getting it wrong. I hate to cut you off, but even the experts are getting it wrong right now, right? With everything.
exactly.
I mean, this year, I don't know. I don't do a whole lot of stocks. I just don't. And this year, I've made more in stock. I've gotten extremely lucky, and there's no, like you said, experts are all over it. I am not an expert, and I've gotten extremely lucky. I've made more money in the stock market this year than I have in all the other years combined.
Right.
And now I'm to the point, okay, I feel like I'm up at the casino and I need to do the responsible thing. I need to take my money away and go home is what I need to do with it.
You need to go home. I'd say
So
the 5
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're actually doing that. But anyway, so, the stock market has been extremely volatile over the last year with
Right.
everything that's been going on here in 2020. But you hit the nail on the head. There is always seems to be something there. You don't have as much control when it comes to stocks and your IRA accounts. And that's one thing I love about the self-directed IRA is you can invest in so many different things. And I know we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And I cut you off. So back to your point, what it is and why and who, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. And yes, it's so volatile. I have no control over the stocks that I'm purchasing. I'm hoping they do well and we see where it goes. And so similar to what you did, you can take that money and as you mentioned, you could just take you're up. So leave the casino and you can now direct your money and take it to a quote unquote self-directed, which is just moving your money from one IRA to another. It's going to be, again, same rules, but the company, the custodian, and we're not the only one out there. There's a bunch of other self-directed IRA custodians out there that'll do this for you. But the custodian is what allows you to invest into non-traditional assets, is the term they use. These non-traditional assets can be real estate, right? Very heavily in real estate, a lot of our clients are involved in one way, shape, or form. But it's not just that. It's anything in the private side, right? So we're not investing your money into the market. We're now saying, hey, this is your money. We're going to hold it inside of your IRA. You tell us what deals you want to be funding or what opportunities you have, and we'll help you get to that point. So really, a Quest Trust company we're the service provider. We don't do anything unless you tell us.
Right.
We also help in the education space by letting you know when you're doing a good or bad thing, IRA legally wise. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You guys definitely I just did a transaction, my first transaction. We can talk about that as well. And I sent over the paperwork and I went to your underwriting department and they came back and they said, well, because it was a promissory note to a business, right? And they're like, well, you need to change, legally speaking, you need to change this, this, and this. And it was because there was, it was just a couple, I would say typos, but it was comforting because I've never done one of these before. Right. And I sent it over and it just I felt like Quest Trust just gave me a big hug and said, we got you, man. It's okay. We got you, So it does make me feel better that if I do have those questions of whatever I'm trying to do, that you guys respond. You respond very quickly, which is a lot different experience than I had with who I was with, right? Which we're not going to bring them up.
Yeah. Right.
But there's a reason I moved, right? And you sitting here talking about customer service and all this. And I can tell you, I am floored by what you provide me. I don't know if you provide that to everybody, but I believe that you probably do. But you said you're not the only custodian out there, and Quest Trust is not the only custodian out there, but it's the only one that I'm going to recommend, right? And there's a reason why I moved my assets over, and it was honestly, it's because of you, because of how responsive you've been. I mean, the other company, I'd have to call, I'd leave a message.
Right.
It may be a couple of days, maybe weeks, if something came in the mail for the property I had invested in when I had my assets over there, it would be sometimes months before I would get that notification. Right. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here. And a lot of it was time sensitive information, like taxes and stuff like that.
When you're dealing with taxes and real estate and private assets, it's always time sensitive.
Yes.
There's people trying to do things either with your money or you're trying to do things with your money. And so being slow definitely is not a plus. And yeah, I mean, you have my personal number. I don't really text all my clients, but I definitely do respond fast. I'm the kind of person that, you email, If I
Yeah.
see it, I'm gonna respond. I'm not just gonna wait.
Yeah.
And Quest is also a smaller company, so we have that feel. If you give us a call, you never actually get like a computer or an automated message. I hate those things. You get a person every single time. You might not reach
Love
that
it.
same person you spoke to last time, but you're speaking to a person that's here to help you. And yeah, kind of the process, and you mentioned it, is we'll review your paperwork, but we'll never tell you if it's a good or bad deal, right, Jay? I mean, you
Right.
saw that was your deal. We're not gonna. This could be the worst deal in the world. We're not looking at that. We're not gonna tell you if
Right.
it's a good or bad deal.
Yeah.
We're gonna fund it because you told us to, but we're gonna make sure it's legal in the eyes of the IRS. That's
Yep.
our ultimate.
Yep. And you protect, and I love that layer of protection, right? I mean, really, when I saw that come across, I was like, oh man, I really feel like they have it made me feel like I was your only customer.
Right.
So whatever, if that is part of y'all's mantra, then you guys are hitting it. Right.
Yeah.
And that was not even involving you. That was somebody in the underwriting department. You may or may not have known that went on. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know they will take care of you, but yeah, once I sent you off to that notes department, I mean, their sole job is to handle your note.
Yeah.
The specific person assigned to your case, and their job is to fund it in a timely manner. You know, we
Okay.
charge everything within 48 hours minimum, or maximum, sorry. So, yeah, we do work pretty quickly because you have to in this industry, man.
Yeah, and they definitely do. I give props to them for sure. Let's get back on track. I get excited talking about this stuff. When I find a company like y'all that really just knocks it out of the park, I really can't stop talking about them. And when I experienced this, you and I started talking about, all right, I want to recommend you to everybody else because I'm already doing it, right? like I already want to see how we can formalize this relationship. But anyway, back on track here. Who can use a self-directed RA, and does age matter? Right. We were joking before I hit the record button about how I'm getting some gray in the beard here, and how my hairline is transitioning from my head to my face. But what? Yeah, I'm just turning it upside down, right? Does age matter when it comes to setting up one of these accounts?
Not necessarily. As a personal experience, so for those listening and not necessarily watching, I do love the Karate Kid. As the show was going, right? The Karate Kid is a young child. I'm only 24, and I've done now 2 deals in my Roth IRA, but definitely it takes the will, and you have to educate yourself to do it. And not trying to go back to you as an example, but you found your deal, and that's kind of the biggest thing about self-directed IRAs is you find your investment.
Yeah.
And so if you're a young individual who doesn't want to put in the work and would just rather invest in the market, well, hey, maybe this is not for you right now. But if you want to put in a little bit of work and due diligence on the front end to find that deal, you can probably get a better return on your retirement account and your investment. Another thing too, and I'll touch on the older side later, but for the younger people, is it's not cash flow, right? This is a retirement account.
Right.
Anything you're making in these accounts is not to go to Steak 48 here in Houston, a super nice restaurant, and right?
Yeah.
No, it's for your retirement. So that money that you're going to be earning in this investment, you got to be okay with never touching it. I mean, you could touch it, but you're going to be penalized and taxed. So you have to be okay with leaving that there.
Yeah. And for you young folks who are listening or watching this on YouTube, here's how I found this deal or how I resurfaced this deal, right? Is I posted on Facebook, where I'm the most active, is, hey, I have $50,000 that's sitting around collecting dust. Who has a deal for me? Now,
I saw that post too, and I was like, yes, Jay, I'm going to get a call soon that he got a deal. Like 60 comments like in the next minute. I was like,
I was not prepared for the amount of comments that came across and actually the engagement that happened with that. But one of the guys who I had been talking to for a while about investing in his business, he said, "Hey, did you forget about me?" And I had to admit, yeah, I forgot, man. I'm sorry. But he responded to that. But if he wouldn't have came back up, right, there were at least a handful of deals that I had vetted out and said, all right, I'm going to choose one of these, right? Because even though this is a retirement account, I used to look at it as, hey, this is play money. This is monopoly money. I'm not going to use this, right? But now I'm getting to that point where that back to the gray hairs, that time is coming quicker than I want it to happen, right? And I still got, I don't know, what is it, 59 and a half before you can take it out
Yeah.
right now. So I still got 18 something years. But anyway, I want that to be of substantial, right? I want to be able to, if I can earn, 15% or 10% on that money versus it going into the stock market and hopefully hitting that. I don't know. It's enticing for me to do that, right? And growing that net worth, even though that is a retirement account, you're not going to touch it. It still adds to your net worth, right? And if you're in your early 20s and if you're thinking about this stuff, kudos to you, because I was not. If you're not, you need to start thinking about it, and not just thinking about it, but measuring it and tracking it at least on a quarterly basis. So,
And I mean, it's a nest egg, and
yeah,
you can still touch it. Like, don't take that verbatim. Like, you can never touch it no matter what until you reach that age. They'll never give it to you. That's not true. If you find yourself in a dire situation, you can touch it.
yeah,
Right? You may or may not pay taxes and penalty. Depends on your situation. There's different variables here. And this year's a good example, the CARES Act.
yeah,
This year, and we might have a segment about this. I don't know if part of our series will touch on this, but I'll touch on it lightly here. Is with COVID-19 happening, there were reliefs, and you could touch money out of your retirement account without penalty because
yeah,
they know people will need that money. You may add it as income, but hey, you can now touch that money. So there are circumstances where you can still use it. So it's good to still be investing that money on the side of also investing your own money and doing your job or whatever.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about who can use it, right? And what can use it. Age does not matter.
No.
The earlier you start, the better. And I'm not sitting here trying to sell you a bill of goods. I really won't, I love people coming into the mastermind. I've made this comment before that I think the millennial generation is probably one of the smartest generations, even though they get a lot of flack for not wanting to work and, work hard, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, they work smart, right? And over half the people in my real estate investing mastermind are millennials, and they have their head on so straight. I am so freaking jealous of where they are just in their mindset, right? Of, hey, I'm planning for retirement. I'm like, you're a light years away from retiring, and it's incredible. So if you're not thinking about this, if you are in your 20s, in 30s, if you're not thinking about this, you need to start. If your friends are not thinking about this, you need new friends. Just plain and simple. And
it's something to bring to light. And here's another segment when you get Anne Marie on here. Anne Marie, by the way, she's another IRA specialist. She's actually our kind of manager. She's my boss. She's a genius. She taught me everything I know. So you all hear from her. But ask her, because she's done the research multiple times, what it requires for someone to retire. How much money does it require for someone to retire? Because she does a great presentation where she does touch on that. And it's astonishing what people should have and what they need to live a comfortable life, maybe what they're living right now, compared to what they do end up having when they finally do retire. It's very minimal and kind of alarming that people don't really prepare for it.
I do not want to be the guy at Walmart welcoming people in with a mask on. Apparently that's going to be the new norm, right? At least for a little bit longer. I don't want to be that guy. And I feel like if I would have started at your age, I, took it a little more seriously, then it wouldn't be pressing upon me as so hard. We're going to be fine, but you never know. You never know what's going to come up.
You're painting yourself old, but you're not. And yeah, you're not. And the thing is, like, and you're also
40. I am 41.
That's okay. You're getting your retirement will skyrocket. You keep doing those notes, doing those Facebook posts. See, you'll beat what you've been doing. I hope and I think that you will at least beat those numbers and start seeing some good returns. Absolutely. And I hope you do.
Yeah, no doubt. There's one thing we just touch on this real quick, because I don't invest with anybody that I don't know and I haven't known for a long time. Right? It's you'll hear all the time that people buy from people. They buy from people they know and trust, right? And same thing for investing for me. I've got to know you for a long time or have that sense of comfort with you. And it's not going to come after one phone call or one response from a Facebook post, right? It's
Yeah,
you
no.
got to build some trust there. But let's talk about Roth IRAs, right? And I'm going to say Roth self-directed IRAs because we're talking about 101, but because there is really no difference, or is there,
Right.
when it comes to the self-directed IRA piece?
Yeah, no, great question. So yeah, so when we're talking about the Roth IRA or Roth self-directed, it's one of the most sought out accounts because every financial guru you hear out there always says start a Roth IRA, right? And the reason being is because this account, when you're putting money in, you're putting in after tax. So money's already
Yeah.
been taxed. You get your W-2 job and they already take taxes out. It's in your checking account. That's the money you put into these Roth IRAs on an annual basis. And just throw out a number there. It's $6,000 that you can put in a year, or 7 if you're over 50. But so you're putting this money in there, and the money you make off of that is what you don't touch until retirement. So I'll repeat that. The money you make is what you don't touch till retirement. Money you put in, so money you've contributed, no matter how many years have gone by, you can always take out any point in time. Because the IRS, think about it, the IRS says this is your money. It's after tax. We're not going to tax you again on it. We don't care about it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we call that the basis. And you
Okay.
could that as your principal, basis, whatever. That's the money you personally have put into that account. So if you do get stuck in a bind, you can always take out your quote unquote your basis.
Do you get penalized for that?
No, it's your money.
See,
So
I'm sitting here. I'm so glad you said that because I have not participated in Roth yet. And apparently, every time I talk to you, I'm going to spend more money investing into these platforms. But it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to get knowledgeable about this stuff before you do it. But I had always under the assumption of you take your money, your after tax dollars, you invest it into a Roth, then you can't touch that money till you're 59 and a half or whatever the age is at the time of retirement, right? So that's really good to know.
yeah, the key thing is your earnings is what you can't touch. So if you're theoretically for 10 years you're putting in $6,000 in, you're gonna have $60,000 in basis.
Gotcha. Okay.
Into that's what you cannot touch. Yeah. So it's good. So I call it the glorified savings account.
Yeah.
It's just you're putting money in. If you're investing it, you at least know that your basis you can always touch. Right. So that's a cool thing about the Roth IRA. That's why it's a great account for the younger folk because they're maybe scared and because they have that also same thought. I'm putting this money in. I can never touch it again. Heck
Yeah. No,
I want
that's
to have it. But now,
and when we say never touch it, we're talking about the basis, that 60,000 that you put in over those 10 years. You can touch that without any tax penalties or fees or anything like that. With a self-directed traditional IRA, you can still touch that, but you're going to get hit with some fees and taxes and stuff of that nature, right?
yeah. So let's talk about the traditional. The difference there is a traditional IRA has a benefit to putting money into that account. The benefit is tax deductions because that account is what we call the pre-tax bucket of money. So if I put money in there, then theoretically I should be taking a tax deduction. And so the IRS says, okay, now that you've taken a tax deduction, reap the benefit from it. Now you're locking in that money towards your retirement until that you reach that age of 59 and a half. But eventually, if you grow that traditional IRA to whatever number you have in your head, that's going to be taxable income when you decide to take that out to go buy something cool, right? Most people have traditional IRAs because most people's money comes from pre-tax bucket of monies, like 401ks, right? 401ks, when people leave their job, they move them to IRAs, traditional IRAs. And then they keep it in a pre-tax bucket of money because they don't want to be taxed on that money just yet. So that's why that's what you do there. And that's why most people have traditional IRAs. And let me clarify that when you're moving money from 401ks or other accounts that are already pre-established, there's no limit, right? So I know I mentioned a $6,000, $7,000 limit. That's only if you're putting money personally.
That's only the post-tax dollars.
That's only the contribution, that you're.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's
good. So most people have traditionals. Most people want Roth IRAs, right? But there's like a trade-off here. So if you wanted a Roth IRA, for example, Jay, you would have to do what's called a Roth conversion. You can contribute to it, but if you wanted to put that money you have in the traditional into the Roth, you would convert. Basically telling the IRS, tax me now at my current tax rate on this dollar amount, so that later on, when I grow that to twice, 3 times, 4 times as much, I don't have to pay taxes on the larger amount. paying taxes on the acorn rather than the tree kind of situation.
Can I do that now that I've already established my account with you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah. So you can do a Roth conversion anytime, right? Whenever you do it, it's on a yearly basis. So if you did it today, you're going to add that amount to your income,
Mm.
right? So it
So
depends on how you're doing, right? So it depends on if this is a low tax year for you, then it might be a good time to do a Roth conversion. If you're making the most you've ever made, then you're going to be paying at a high tax rate.
yeah. So I'll need to talk to my CPA about that. See
100%
more.
talk to
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, no, it's good. I always start with the best intentions to have to talk about helping the listener out or the watcher out or
No,
the
but they
viewer
learn
out.
from, they learn from perfect.
I know, and hopefully they are. But I only interview people that I'm interested in talking
Yeah.
to, and we tend to go down these rabbit holes. Like, oh, wait a minute, this is what I'm thinking, and
No, but I hope any of you listener right now, this is helping you out because most people are in your situation. Like
yeah,
most people are like what you have done, and so it should help them out. Getting into the details, it's my job to know all the details of
yeah,
IRS publication and notices that come out. That's why you hire and use a service like us, because we'll tell you those things. It's your job to be picking my brain and asking me, hey, what can
yeah,
I do here? How do I do this? A lot of things do require, as you mentioned, you got to talk to your CPA, and that was a great
yeah,
thing that you mentioned because keep in mind, any person an IRA custodian, we're huge nerds. We know a lot about IRAs. I am not a CPA.
yeah.
I'm not going to advise on what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just going to lay it out for you. I'm a neutral party. I'm going to lay out all your options, and you're going to take that and take it home.
And I'm sitting here trying to think why I didn't do that. Convert to a Roth initially, and I want to say I started this process before I was laid off, and I was on track to make more money than I ever had, you
Yeah.
know, in a given year. I know we talked about it, but I know to to your point about custodians, where you guys are going to advise, but then you're going to sit back and say, okay, what do you want to do?
Right.
I am pretty sure we talked about this, and I
Probably.
said, no, let me just stick with what I know, right? Which is just a traditional self-directed RA. Because mine was converting from another entity. And the way that started was I took monies. I'd left a job, or actually we had gotten acquired, and they didn't convert our simple IRA at the time. They didn't convert it over or whatnot for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then I used that money to start with this other company that I'd used for several years, and they just were not customer focused, customer service friendly. Yeah, but I know that I am sitting here trying to rack my brain on why we didn't do that. But I do know that afterwards, because of me leaving or being laid off due to COVID, that I then had a very small portion that I've eventually transferred over to as well. Because I remember there was two separate deposits that we did.
Yes. I think I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. I don't expect you to remember, but because I barely do, and it was a few months ago. So
Yeah. No. More of the story, like for you and for the listener and viewer, is just think about where you're at right now. It's a personal decision. Everyone's situation is different. I mean,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I do have some clients that they're making the most they've ever made. They're at a high tax rate. They're gonna take that bullet, but
yeah.
because they believe that in the future they're going to be even higher, or the tax rate is going to be going up.
Yeah, tax rates are going to be going up. I mean, that's
So
two great points. Tax rates are going up always. You can never look back and say, "Oh, you remember back in 1985 when we were taxed not as much?" No, the taxes are always going to go up. And if you're interested in this, if you're listening to this and you want to build generational wealth for your family, you're always going to be earning more money. So Roth makes the most sense. It's if you're in a situation like me, it's when does it make the most sense, right? And
yeah,
you've got to talk to your CPA and make that happen. And
sometimes even this year with everything going on, COVID situation, a lot of people being laid off, right? If you have some reserve money in a traditional IRA, it might be a good time for a conversion.
yeah,
Just taking advantage of that situation. So I mean, it's a lot of things, a lot of factors to consider.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be the year for me, but I need to talk to my CPA for sure, just to see, just to
I mean,
talk to him.
the
He
good
may
thing
tell me it doesn't matter.
the good thing is that everyone, is listening and looking into doing it. I mean, my dad, when I started this job, I told him to think about it, but he's like, yeah, I cashed out because he's working for kind of himself now, but he was working like a W-2 job before, and he's like, I cashed out my 401k years ago.
Yeah.
He wasn't aware of the situation, and he, I guess at the time, just needed the money, so he wasn't, I don't think, advised properly on his options.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't have a 401k anymore, but who knows where that could have been now, and especially with my career, it could have helped him.
Yeah.
But that's good for the viewer to like be listening to all this, and it's good stuff to know.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about two things and then we'll wrap up for today's session or this week's session. But let's talk about tax reporting and how can this benefit me today? If I have an old 401k at my previous employer, or I've been laid off due to COVID and now I've got this, 401k sitting with them still. How can this benefit me today? What do I need to do to kind of get started or to really initiate kind of the next steps, right?
Okay.
That's actually three questions, isn't it? How do I get started? Where do I get started? And what are the benefits for today?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's two things in the first question you got to ask yourself is, due to your personal situation, is what is your ultimate goal? That's always my first question to people is, what's your ultimate goal? Are the funds that you have in these 401k, or the reason why you're looking to self-directed IRAs is because you want to earn more money for retirement, or you want to be putting money in your back pocket right now while escaping taxes? Because if you're trying to escape some taxes and put money in your back pocket, you're going to have a tough time to do so. It's really, really hard to do that. Most rules are generated to stop you from receiving a benefit from your IRA until you reach that age of 59 and a half and take it out and pay the government taxes, whatever it may be. So it's really hard to do that. But something to take away, if you're the individual who says, man, I can't start thinking about retirement now. I'm still trying to get it off on my feet and start my own business and do all this. I might need to cash out my 401k. Hey, if you got to do that, you got to do that. Understand that maybe your network is going to help you out in this case now. Because if you know that your network has multiple people in there and they might have IRA money and 401k money, at least you know that those people can now help you maybe with your business, just like you helped that one guy with his business, right? Same situation. So if you're that individual who just needs that money in their back pocket now, maybe an IRA is not going to help you personally today, but other people's IRAs might. Yeah. That's the thing we preach as well. OPI, other people's IRAs.
We hear other people's money, but you guys have taken it to another level with OPI, other people's IRAs.
If there are any ladies watching and viewing and listening, it's not nail polish. It's right? I didn't know OPI was nail polish until I started working here at Quest. Always that cheesy joke we made.
That's funny. That sounds like a good dad joke. I appreciate that.
But then if you're the other side and you're someone that has this money and you just lost your job or you have an opportunity to move it, I know a lot of companies right now are offering packages to move their 401ks out. You can think about moving to a self-directed IRA and do so if you know that you personally are more involved in private assets, real estate investing. The fact you're listening to this, you most likely are, and you most likely are trying to get away from the traditional route. Then you can apply everything you've learned, all the knowledge you have, to your retirement. And you can almost guarantee yourself a better chance of growing that account a lot larger because you're applying the knowledge that you know and not just that volatility of the market. But yeah, I think that answers your question. Now,
it does.
But I think I answered the question. Basically, just see what options you have. You can always move it over. Moving it over, don't get too bogged on how can I do that. Give someone a call. It's super easy to do it. It's just a matter of taking that step to do so. That's really fun.
Yeah. And I want to encourage everybody listening, and if this has sparked any interest at all, and it's amazing how quickly these episodes, as time goes by, when we start talking about this stuff, I get so excited. I'm looking up like, oh crap, we've got to go. But if it sparked any interest at all, and you're sitting here listening, saying, yeah, I need to start stop thinking about it and just go do it, right? And go talk to Juan. And I don't know, we've set up a website to kick off this partnership. It's w2cap.quest questtrust.com. I'll link to that in the show notes. But when people fill out the form and there's some additional resources y'all put there as well, are they going to get in touch with you, or is it somebody just on your team? How does that work? We didn't talk about that before we started recording. So
So
that's my fault.
that's all good. That can be something you do to reach out to myself. As I mentioned, Quest is a small company, and we're not like commission based or anything. So we're happy to help. And me and my team of IRA specialists, we would be the first point of contact. So, we'll be the ones talking to you, talking about your personal situation, seeing what's the best thing for you in your IRA, and what possibilities, how we can help you.
Nice.
So you can always contact me. Just say my name, Juan Deshon, and someone will get you over to me if I didn't answer the phone, or someone in my department is just as capable as answering any questions that you may have.
Awesome.
So it's really just a way to get in front of someone that can just walk you through and answer your direct questions that you may have, and see how we can help.
And what I'll do is I'll put that link in the show notes, as well as the phone number for people if they just want to call and connect with you and whatnot. Not your cell phone though. I will not put your cell phone on there. I feel extremely special now knowing that that was kind of a one-time thing. So, or very rare opportunity.
Very rare,
right?
very
So
rare.
I appreciate that. I will also make note not to text you when I have questions about my account. I'll make sure I email you.
You can know, but if it's on Saturday, I may or may not answer. Who knows?
That's understandable. So there's the good thing about IRA is there's usually nothing life-threatening when it comes to it. There's usually no emergencies, right? Anyway, look. So this is episode 1. We've got a few more coming with you, or coming to you. So be sure to stay tuned if you're listening to these, and I would say live, but as the weeks progress. Juan's going to be back next week, and then we're going to have what I just discovered was his boss, Anne Marie. So I'll get a chance to pick on you in front of her. Yeah, and then we'll have the boss on a little bit later. So Juan, thank you for being here today. I look forward to chatting with you next week.
Yep.
When we're going to dive into a little bit more specific information when it comes to these IRAs. And I'm trying to pause as best I can to get to that title that we decided on but private money lending. Yes. PML, right? Juan, thank you for being here today. I will talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, Jay.
All right. So we just wrapped up with part 1 with Juan Deshon and the crew at Quest Trust, and truly amazing customer service. I'll tell you, Juan did admit that he doesn't give everybody a cell phone number for text and whatnot, and I feel truly blessed by that. But it has gone beyond that for me. It's gone beyond him. It's working with a note department. Everybody there seems to they make me feel like they have my back, right? And they've proven that over the last couple of months where I've been working with them. So it's what made me reach out to them and say, hey, this is going so good. I really would love to have you guys sponsor the show, figure out how we can be a partnership. So this is going to be a 4-part series, depending on if you're watching this as they are released weekly, or if you're playing a little catch up, right? I'll see you in this next video. They're going to be right over here. That's part of this series. I want to make a playlist just for this. So don't forget to schedule your free consult with Juan or any of the guys on Anne Marie's team. You're going to meet Anne Marie here in a couple of weeks, who runs the whole team there that Juan's part of. But you can schedule for that free consult at w2cap.questtrust.com, and obviously the link is going to be in the description below.